I apologize. My camera cut out the third time because I didn't have enough memory. Apple is literally dumping my videos. My Samsung Galaxy doesn't dump videos. This one is. The Apple, it's dumping videos. It won't let me access them, and so I have to delete them. It's like, that's called tampering with evidence. So this is part 3 of the coat of arms for Harry Potter, the 4 houses in Hogwarts Legacy. I haven't gotten to it yet, but now we're in part 3. First part was 20 minutes, second part was 5 minutes, the third part, I don't know. Harkening back to just a couple points. On YouTube, they're talking more openly about exorcisms in the history of the whole thing. Of course, it started probably back in the Catholic Church, back in the Renaissance, I believe. The cross happened 1,500 years ago. There's 500 years of history that was made up. The 500 years of history made up is after the cross, in my estimation. Because in one of the books of the Apocrypha, Adam was told that he sent one of his descendants to go get a fruit from a tree that would heal Adam of his aches and pains. There was no fruit on that tree. It wasn't in season. The angel told him, however, in what did he say? In 4,500 years, I will send you a righteous branch or something. I don't know the words because I don't know the book. Well, that's where we're now. 4,500 years since Adam left the Garden of Eden. 4,000 plus 1,500. No, excuse me, 5,500 years. And that's where we're at now. So we're missing 500 years from the cross. That's how I could prove that fact. And people have used coinage from ancient coins to try to describe how history is missing. If you know genealogy, if you know history, it shouldn't be too hard to eliminate those 500 years. But I don't. So I'm relying on that Bible verse for that one. So when they're talking about exorcisms, there's a video they did, a case history. It was in CGI computer animation. Some of those people that got demonically possessed, I think some of them were delivered from it before they died, and some of them weren't. Some of those people were nice, ordinary, everyday people. They weren't looking for trouble. It's like some of their relatives put a curse on them. I'm sure they knew about God. One of their relatives put a curse on them. It's like, and that person got delivered and had to live kind of a life probably not the same as it had been, but that tells me that demonic possession doesn't mean that you're going to hell. Going to hell is you turn 3 years old, and whatever the age of accountability is according to what God has ordained, what the angels will allow, that 3-year-olds or 4-year-old, whenever they know right and wrong, if they haven't put their faith in the finished work of the Lord on the cross by way of understanding. Now, I don't know what happens to mentally ill people who can't understand, or if you're born blind and deaf. However, I am not optimistic, because there were consequences when Adam and Eve ate of that fruit, terrible consequences. If you think that the world has 20 billion people, only half of them are saved. Most of them died in infancy. Of course, quite a few of them might have been 5 or 6 years old and up, but the mortality rate for the Earth hasn't been much better than it had been. It's gone way up since the 80s, in fact. But if they were mentally handicapped, like they never could use reason, reason never could reach them because of their mentally handicapped, then I believe that yes, they could be saved, that they were saved. But they were born blind and deaf. They never learned how to read Braille. I am very not optimistic. If they were born in a Christian family, could a Christian pray for them? Could a Christian family pray for that child? Or that person later on in adult? The Bible doesn't tell me, and as Christians, where the Bible doesn't speak, we're silent. For I'm sure that if God wanted to, he could find a way to visit them in a dream and convert them, in all likelihood. For the Lord has said, for of whom the Father hath given me, no one shall pluck them from my hands. And that's final. And moving along, I didn't want to spend too much time, but yeah, September 23rd, 2023. It all happened like clockwork. You can observe it in real time on an astrological birth chart happening. All the planets are in female signs, goddess planets. While researching astrology and occult science, I learned quite a bit, all the different angles of your planets to things and what their orbs are, of what their energy is going to be. If it's out of orb, it's not going to have any energy. And stars have their own role, and the moon and the sun have their own role, and it's the smaller planets have their own role. Pluto has its own role. Pluto is a powerful planet that's being orbited by three moons. I call it a planet. We're finding Neptunian planets, like what are there, 80 of them? Only the top 5 are the size of Pluto, or smaller. It's like there's far out, and then there's far, far out. Then there's, what is it, Sedona, or whatever red planet that's named after a Native American goddess. So I only think that Pluto and Sedona might be powerful, but not in a societal way, in my opinion. More like a giant squid. But Pluto is very powerful, and it's entering Capricorn for the first time since it had back a little bit before the American Revolutionary War. And every time it enters into Capricorn, they say it's entering in Aquarius. Wrong. Check your Aquarius on a 30-degree birth chart, but not in an actual sign. It's entering Capricorn. So it's leaving the sign of Sagittarius, Martin Luther King, and it's entering into the sign of, Mozart, whatever, So there will be major societal changes, and it's coming to America, because America's going to be gone in a year. Because 2 times the Virgin, the mother of the child of Jupiter, was mentioned in the book of Revelation, fleeing into the wilderness. Add those 3.5 years up, you get 7 years. It's been 7 years since that sign was given. Well, 7 years come September or October of this year, 2024. Well, Israel hasn't turned 80 years old. It's still 75 or whatnot. 70 is more than that now. But Israel's only going to be a nation for 80 years. Give them a year leeway, 81 years. I think a 1 year leeway is fair. But by this October, it's like they can be a nation for 3.5 more years during the 7-year Great Tribulation, whereas all the rest of us are gone. So, do you think America has another 3.5 years? No, because after we're gone, then begins the Great Tribulation, and Israel, it's like 3.5 years into the 7-year Great Tribulation, their temple, their newly rebuilt, beautiful, really expensive, really beautiful, pretty, fancy, fabulous temple is rebuilt. That's when they stop being a nation. After those 3.5 years. So 3.5 years from this coming year is how I calculated the thing. Yeah, they're not going to be a nation for 83 years. David defines the age of a generation as 70 years, and if by strength 80, and then we fly out of here, he says. We're raptured out of here. Harpazo, snatched up in the Greek. There's another Greek word that means faith plus nothing equals salvation. Pastor Tim Henderson knows what that Greek word is. It escaped my mind. Faith plus nothing equals salvation. We're saved, my pastor says, we're saved by Yeshua alone, by faith alone, by grace alone. Grace is getting something you didn't deserve and you can't earn. So don't ever consider yourself self-righteous. And Jesus says, don't begin to call yourself sons of Abraham. For of these stones, God can make sons of Abraham. Living Stones Church. My point being, I thought I was only Caucasian. But the fact that slaves who were the Jews from Africa, some of them were Jews, no, not all of them, but the ones that were the good slaves were the Jews. You know, the beast system is the Islamic nation, obviously, part of it. Part of the beast system is the Islam's. The Jews are trying to make nice with them, trying to be tolerant of them. Every time America tries to divide the land or make any negotiations, there's a moon over America crisscrossing another moon that it had done previously. It's like, it's a bad omen, because every time we sign a treaty, bad things happen that year, very shortly after. So we cannot give any compromise to what was promised to Abraham, what was promised to the nation of the Jews, their land. Mount Moriah, it might not have been the original Jerusalem, but it might have been where Abraham was told to sacrifice Isaac. And that's on the site where the Dome of the Rock is, and that's where the Jewish temple will be rebuilt. It hasn't been rebuilt yet. When America is gone, maybe it will be rebuilt and finished by the end of the 3.5 years, when at that time the Antichrist breaks his peace treaty and invades it, and Jesus says, flee to the mountains, do not return home, do not return for your cloak, do not leave your rooftop if you're hiding, like the Diary of Anne Frank. And pray that your flight be not on a Sabbath day, which is actually Friday night. The Sabbath day is Friday night, it's during the night, in my opinion. Not Saturday or the Catholic pagan holiday of Sunday. And pray that you're not pregnant at that time with child. And pray that it be not during the winter, for if that was the case, the worst calamity that the world has seen would occur. And then so the two prophets, which we believe could be Elijah, not Elisha, who is his successor, but Elijah, who might have been Metatron, an angel. I don't know if Ezekiel was a reincarnated angel, but that's speculation, not entirely speculation, but it's on YouTube. But according to that YouTube channel that I was telling you about, there's more astrological signs. There's going to be a meteorite shower in the serpent, constellation of serpents, or some kind of explosion of something, an explosion of an asteroid, symbolizing the downfall of the devil. Right in 2028, which is 3.5 years after what I told you. That's 7 years after the 7-year Great Tribulation. 2029, there's another asteroid. 2030, the woman gives, there's another revelation sign of the woman, Virgo the Virgin. But Jupiter, she's not giving birth to Jupiter. So Mercury, Venus, Mars are probably in her crown at the tail of the lion. Leo, fire, fixed, masculine. Virgo the Virgin, feminine, feminine, mutable, earth. Libra, masculine, cardinal, air. Scorpio, fixed, water, feminine. Ophiuchus, neutral. Anything in Ophiuchus is not a Scorpio energy. Maybe he represents the restrainer, the angel or the Holy Spirit or whoever it is that's restraining these Antichrist forces that have been here since Adam and Eve. When Ophiuchus restraining that serpent, I guess the power over venom. If a bioweapon delivers venom to you, nicotine might help, but there are many other things that you can do to detox venom, or rabies, or any bioweapon. I start with natural doTERRA essential oils, and that video is on, of a doctor talking about it for 2 hours, is on my Instagram, Jared Routson, one word, lowercase JARED ROUTSON. But that serpent waiting to devour the child right underneath Virgo the Virgin, there's going to be meteorites there in that sign. Symbolizing in Revelation, Michael fought and the devil and his angels fought, and the devil swept 1/3 of the hosts of heaven. So all those meteorites or explosions, it means something. Whether that serpent is kind of in Libra or more in Libra, like what are we dealing with culturally? Rock and roll, cults, diehard culture, pseudoscience. What could that serpent represent in Libra? A balanced energy. There's another serpent in that in the night sky. By the way, I don't believe that helium can form. There's no such thing as gravity. There is no physicist that believes in gravity. It's made up. We're dealing with buoyancy. So I don't believe hydrogen would combine in a vacuum of space. It would all clump together, and there would be so much pressure on it that, in fact, it would start to do a special reaction with hydrogen that we can only begin to mimic with lasers on Earth. I don't believe it would naturally happen. So that's just one more thing. Stars burn out. 50 of them burn out every 1,000 years, and they never return. We've never seen a new star form because there aren't any. Since astronomers in Greek times, it's like came up with constellations for them, they've never seen any new stars. There was a star in Scorpio that burnt out. Orion's Betelgeuse or whatever it is, it's flickering. They're thinking it could burn out. God never replaces them with anything, in my estimation. If the sun and the moon are, if the sun refuses to, if the moon is turned red and the sun is blackened, those things, I don't know if they'll ever come back, because God is going to be the light of the city of the New Jerusalem. They'll have to come back, or all the nations won't be able to go there to eat of the tree of life that's going to be in that holy city that will come down from heaven. Where that holy city will land, I do not know, but it's going to be spectacular for 1,000 years before the whole corruptibleness of the earth is destroyed. Satan is thrown into lake of fire, and those who were unbelievers will be resurrected at the end of that, and they'll be thrown into the lake of fire too. If they didn't believe or ever knew or ever believed. Everyone has been saved. The price has been paid. But if they didn't know, it's like, you see, Cain Cain is probably saved, but I do not believe Jesus is saved. I do not believe. I do not believe, of course, that Judas Iscariot is saved, for Jesus said it were better for that man never to have been born. Do we have the original cup that Jesus had at the sacrament, the first sacrament, or the Lord's Supper? It's like, I don't think that cup survived. And I think its power was probably in the wine that was in it and not the cup itself. So it probably got washed out by the barkeeper because they were in the upper story of that bar, hotel, whatever it is. The apostle was in the bosom of the Lord, meaning not actually lying on his lap, but just seated next to him. That's where the guest of most distinction is seated. Which apostle that was, I can't remember. I mean, I'm really just playing it by ear sometimes. But as for homosexuality, just another thing, it won't keep you out of heaven if you believe in the finished work of the Lord on the cross when he said, before he died, it is finished, and gave up the ghost. After he said, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Because God had to leave him to finish the work, and then God came back into him. That's when Jesus knew he had done it. Only then did he allow himself to die. Very sad. And on the third day, we believe in our heart that he was raised from the dead, because without a resurrection, none of us would have been ever rescued from the bosom of Abraham. And after the cross, no Jews could ever go to the bosom of Abraham because it wasn't there. If they didn't believe the Lord was who he said he was, they'd go to hell. It's like if Pontius Pilate didn't believe, if King Herod II didn't believe, Patriarch of the Jews, if neither one of them believed, they would go to hell. If they had believed, it's like before or after, it's like they probably would have been saved. They would have been saved. Because the thief on the cross believed. The second thief, I don't know if the second thief believed. Didn't he have his eyes pecked out by the bird? Which brings me to the fact that Ophiuchus, I don't know what Apollo or Zeus did to punish him, but I think it was Apollo who turned his mother into a crow. That's a constellation in the night sky. And if you look at those constellations, they're fascinating. They're all mythical. Some of them are tools like a crown, or is there a compass in there? And then some of them, as you go farther out, they are animals like a giraffe and other things that modern astronomers have put together. And there are constellations that we've lost track of, but you can look them up for reference on Google search. Hundreds of constellations we've lost track of. Saturn was on Christmas Day on September 23rd, 2018. And all of those planets on the bottom, they were all direct. The ones on the top were in retrograde. So Pluto was in retrograde there, we know to be in Sagittarius. Neptune was in retrograde in Pisces, its native planet, native sign. Uranus was in retrograde there on Passover. The moon became full, starting from all throughout Passover, the month of Passover, I guess, April. I think it's Aries, not Taurus. And isn't that interesting? Then all the other planets were direct. Their energies were not blocked. So trine is the most powerful aspect in astrology when three things are lined up, or when there's a conjunction. That's even more powerful. two planets coming together and are in orb of each other. If a planet is in 1 degree of the celebrity star in Pisces, the celebrity star, I forget what it is, it's good. But if it's right at 0 degrees, it's too strong. It's not the same energy. That's how specific things are. Specific with things like Pluto. Pluto's set to leave Capricorn one more time, and then in a few months it will be in Capricorn for 20 years. Who knew that Pluto stayed in a constellation that long? It only spends 10 years in most of them, I thought. It's like, I don't even think Pluto is a real orbit in physics. I think it does its own thing, to be honest with you, because it hasn't been in Capricorn since 1878. The American Revolutionary War. You have great thinkers. You have, what do you call it? Enlightenment thinkers in science. And then after that, the Industrial Revolution happened. Shortly, not too long after that, so you have revolutions in France, which didn't finalize until after Napoleon. But, so it's powerful. I would know what Pluto put me through. I know what Pluto put me through while I was in my 5th house of the inner child, Leo, which would be my Sagittarius. It put me through a lot. A lot of learning, a lot of trial and error, the health issues, my snake venom set in. I've had to learn how to deal with continual snake venom that will never go away. But I found out that sleep disorders, when you don't produce oxytocin or melatonin, such as a narcolepsy with cataplexy, if you have cataplexy, your muscles go weak in public, and it's psychological. You mimic things. Behavior, it's always been misdiagnosed as schizophrenia, but you can't treat it with antipsychotic drugs. But the ingredient, here we go, Xywave or Xyrem, found out it's in tobacco, it's in beef, it's in small citrus fruits. It's in roasted coffee. All things that had to be, there's more of this ingredient in it when the oxygen is prevented from reaching that. When oxygen is prevented from reaching it, is higher concentrations of the active ingredient in Xywave or Xyrem. And any fermented products like beer or wine have small amounts of it. It was taken off the market, but it is used to treat both narcolepsy and cataplexy. Come to find out, things can cause sleep apnea, which is also a terrible disorder. It's awful. I have it. It was misdiagnosed and hadn't been treated since like the 7th grade. I've had it, and no one knew. They thought it was schizophrenia. It wasn't. I had a personality disorder, which qualifies you for Social Security. It's called schizotypical personality disorder. A personality disorder cannot be treated. Yeah, secondarily, like if you have depression or anxiety, or maybe you do see or hear things. It's like, but with that disorder, you don't need any drug, because there's nothing they can do for your personality. Your personality is who you are. Yeah, that's for mostly the foods that is in. I don't know if it's in grapes, but if you do a Google search, on the other hand, nicotine is in potatoes and tomatoes, and the highest concentration in nightshades. Since I've been using the nicotine patches, I've had to use 21 milligram patches a day. It's very effective. Add to it 2 milligrams of gum, or break that gum into 2 pieces, and you get 2 pieces, 1 in the morning, 1 at night. But you have to have a tobacco product to get a real tobacco product, like chew or cigarettes, to get the effect from the Xywave to treat the narcolepsy and cataplexy. it might be, I'm sure some of that is in other things. And then orange juice and grapefruit juice, yes, does detoxify venoms and such. I've been using melatonin sublingual, 5 milligrams, because if you don't produce melatonin, you won't detox snake venoms. That's why I've been so sick. I'm so glad I have my answer now. But I had to find out all of that through luck, sheer luck, or I don't know what I would have done, because I'm a non-smoker. Growing up as a Mormon, completely a non-smoker. But smoking might prevent Parkinson's or reverse Parkinson's, and it might reverse another thing. It's also in that video I have on Instagram, the link to it on Rumble. That's the only place you can watch that video by that doctor. Because it's nigaranin that's in orange juice and grapefruit juice. It's nigaranin that, and it's in nigaranin is in tomato paste, but you have to cook the tomato paste. Don't settle on using tomato sauce. I think it has to be tomato paste. And it might be in other things like herbs and such, like oregano. I don't know what. And so it's like, I'm sold on doTERRA. This girl is essentially spoiled. doTERRA has Citrus Bliss. It has all of the it has all of those citrus things, anything you can think of, including citrus bergamot. Or there's off-brands. Here's one with orange, one with tangerine. Remember, small citrus fruits for the Xywave, Xyrem. Tangerine, mandarin. Because the highest concentrations of these things are not in the juice necessarily, but in the oils from the white flesh of those things, or the peel. I don't know how they extract. doTERRA extracts. There's different extractions of different things. I'm just now beginning to learn. And like, I should be using their cellular repair formula. It contains frankincense. What did the 3 wise men give the baby Yeshua? Myrrh, frankincense, and gold. Gold and silver are the only forms of money that God ever created for man that would ever work. Nothing else would ever work. Oil, maybe, for a short amount of time. I won't get into how we're going into digital currency, because that's going to lead to the one world government, one world religion, one world monetary system that America has already established. The crypto, the fake money, that they can control. They can delete your money. Digital currency, it's already been enacted under our noses. So I don't know what else to say about what I was talking about previously, but I need to move on because this video is getting long. And all I wanted to talk about, to be honest. Okay, so after the woman there's another Revelation 12 sign in the woman, and around the year 2023, you can look it up on your Astro computer simulation. I haven't seen them simulate a computer model of our solar system, but the moons all move counterclockwise as their planets spin counterclockwise. But some of the planets spinning counterclockwise are moving clockwise instead of counterclockwise around each of the planets. The moon is turning counterclockwise, but it's not. Or the world. Yeah, the moon is spinning. So half of the moons are not even moving. They're just facing the planet. That's what they're saying is happening to our moon, is facing our planet. It's not. Our moon face changes all the time. It has to be rotating. It's like what they are, I don't know. But if you put gases in a cylinder, they will light up, whatever color you want them to make them light up. When passed through an electromagnetic currency, now we know Humans are toroidal. They have a north pole and a south pole electromagnetic field. So does the Earth. So yeah, those things would glow, and they're in a water solution. Why is the sky blue? It's water. That water is a special kind of water. Someone said if there weren't water, we would explode. Up there, we would explode. I don't know. I doubt that's true. I don't know what they're basing that on. I don't know what the glass dome is made out of, what substance God made it out of. Obviously, a God had to do that, not an alien, which is just a fallen angel, because there is no outer space. They're from either the abyss, an extra dimension, where they were banished, or who knows. Is CERN summoning that power? I think it is, because the book of Revelation says a key was given to an angel who opened up the bottomless pit. Is that CERN? And what was unleashed, I forget. The RFID microchip made of lithium battery, which is, it's an occult science how those batteries work, but it's going to break open, and lithium will cause boils, and that's what happens to the people in the book of Revelation. Their mark causes boils on them. It has to have been powered by lithium. I'm sure there are other things that could power a battery other than lithium. But it's the human body, the temperature differentiation that's only here in the forehead and in your right hand, probably here. That's the only part of the body that your temperature differential is that would power that lithium battery, because it's based on temperature fluctuations that charges it, I suppose. I'm speculating. The inventor of that chip is on YouTube, who said he invented it and realized, yeah, I just helped them come up with the mark of the beast. And if you take that, there's no forgiveness. There's no way to get it out of your system either, I'm sure. But if you could, you still wouldn't be forgiven. Although I have no proof of that. It's like, that's what Christians kind of have a consensus on. It's like, if you do any of the three things the book of Revelation says, there is no forgiveness possible. But you can't do any of that until the 7-year Great Tribulation starts, when in general, I'm speculating, you can't take the number. That number is everywhere. I'm guessing. You can't take that number until the 7-year Great Tribulation begins. To have it cause you to lose your salvation. The Old Testament says the angels will not glean part of a field. They're not going to glean some of that wheat. Christians are going to get left behind. Who is God talking about? Who is I never knew you? Meaning I never knew your mind, or I don't know what else it could mean, because I don't speak Greek. But the Geneva Bible is a translation before the King James version of the Bible. It's more accurate. Apparently, there's some things in it that aren't even in the King James version. King James being black, he was from his cousins. They were slaves in Scotland, I believe, or is it Sweden or Norway? Where was it? And they were from slaves from Africa, probably from Ethiopia. So all of us who look white, we're descendants of the Jews. So the Davidic line will never die, in one sense. Something of royalty will always be on earth. But the birthright, the last thing to have the birthright, I think, is the tribe of Judah, and then from there it goes down the pyramid, I'm guessing, because Adam gave up 70 years of his life. So King David, he's getting ready to show back up on the scene, because his kingdom is everlasting, it never ends. He'll be king of the Jews and during the millennium. And see, the Lord is more of his servant than King David is the servant of the Lord. In all of those scriptures. There's scriptures apparently of the woman giving birth in Isaiah. The Revelation 12 sign, it's in Isaiah. Isaiah says, it's already told the Jews, for by his stripes we are healed. He was bruised for our transgressions. He was chastised for our iniquity, and by his stripes we are healed. By his stripes we were made well. By his stripes we were made whole. That's only a sacrificial lamb he's talking about. Not a military leader, not a politician or a president, but a divine Messiah. And that's who Isaiah was trying to tell the Jews. And another Bible verse that Martin Luther, the German theologian, reformer, Protestant reformer, the verse is that he quoted to prove his point was not in the New Testament, it was in the Old Testament. That whatever verse, when he was in Inquisition, that verse that he told them, those animal sacrifices are grace. It's like, it's not magic, it's not a Greek ritual, it's representing grace. That the Lord is that unblemished sacrificial lamb, and Jesus told the Jews of his days, he means to all Jews. It's like, unless you believe that that sacrifice is me, you shall also and likewise perish. The only faith you need to believe in the Lord, after all the miracles he did, is to have the faith of a grain of mustard seed. And reading the Bible, you will have the faith of a grain of mustard seed. One Christian said Christians don't just believe, they know it's true. Believe it. It's like, and so, I forgot what I was going to say. So, yeah, so the person that's talking about the woman giving birth in 2028 or 29, he's the one who revealed to me those scriptures on his YouTube channel. I posted it on a playlist, and on my Twitter page, Jared Routson. I don't know if you can find it. It needs to be written into a paper. Of course, he has his work. He found it sooner than I did. All eschatology. He knows all eschatology. But my work on the Revelation 12 sign on September 23rd, I used September 22nd or 21st over Israel of a birth chart, has to do with the age of accountability. When does an infant go to hell when they don't believe? Or a 3 to 4 year old? Because by 5 years old, they're in kindergarten and they are rowdy. I'm just stalling for time. I'm choking on camera. Of course, at the end of the millennium, whatever birthright or firstborn authority or kingdomship will be given from King David to the Lord, and from the Lord he will return it to God the Father. And the Lord says, no man cometh unto the Father save by me. Remember the Trinity, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. The word Trinity is not mentioned in the Bible, however. But to come to incarnate to earth, perhaps as Enoch did, as an angel into a human, it's like you have to give up something. He had to give up his glory with the Father to do so. And so when we get to heaven, we're not going to see God the Father or the Holy Spirit. We're just going to see a bright Jesus who has all three. The Godhead or Trinity. I don't want to get Mormonism theology mixed in with Bible. And there you have it. I don't know if the kingdom of earth will stay on this earth. I think this earth had been so defiled, and hell is not very far beneath. Gehenna, what do you call it? The lake of fire. I don't know how deep that lake is. Is it this high? Is it this high? Is it way high? I don't know. People speculate on it. If I was God, I would leave this creation altogether and go somewhere else, make something new in a completely different reality. But I'm not one to say, but the Bible doesn't tell me for certainty. It just says there will be no more hunger, no more pain, no more death or dying. Death and hell had been cast into Hades at that point. Who's the English writer who wrote about the myth of hell and the Greek myth of hell? and the angels, Paradise Lost, and then his other novel, Paradise Regained. I suggest you read it. I never have, but it's on YouTube, books on YouTube. On my YouTube channel, Jared Routson is and on Twitter and on my Facebook page, you can also see the lists, my playlists. They have these references in them. So to make a long story short, that's what I've been doing this year, is getting it all together and figuring it all out as best as I can. Evolution is a complete lie. The fossils, I don't know what fossils are real and whatnot, but there are so many strange fossils, like giant fossils and alien fossils, and which is real and which is not. I'm not an archaeologist or anthropologist. There's a cave in Lovelock that supposedly had red-haired giants where they discovered bones and took them out. Is it real or not? I don't know. I haven't had time to look at fossil evidence and what does it all mean. But I believe the Nephilim were human-looking. They were not giants. It's called sex magic, when angels mate with humans. Yeah, they wouldn't have been giants, in my opinion. I think giants were created after the flood. When David slew Goliath, he was a giant. There were... so the Epic of Gilgamesh, so those angels have been here even after the flood. I believe the hominid fossils we find are real, but they aren't, there's no missing link, folks. There's no intermediate evolutionary fossil evidence. They were created by those angels. It's like... to serve humanity, I guess. I hope we're not mixed in with them. Genetically, hopefully not. I don't know what genetic tampering has been done. But I think the cross put an end to it and paid for it. But in the book of Daniel, the stone that crushes the statue of all the kingdoms of the earth and the miry clay is the final one, where the clay and the iron don't mix. There's a reference to God's throwing people who tried to change their DNA into so they'll live forever. It's like by artificial means. Will the mark of the beast do it somewhat? It's hooked up to 5G. It's like you can be controlled or monitored. They know everything you're thinking, saying, or doing if you take the mark of the beast. It's the miry clay and the iron. The angels cannot mix with humans. It won't work. The kingdom will collapse. I don't know what else to say, but the book of Zechariah talks about the two prophets being killed. During the 3.5, they're dead in the streets for 3.5 days. No, not 3.5 days in the book of Revelation. We're talking 3.5 years, because at the end of the 3.5 years, Jesus comes, raises them up. Pluto is going to move twice as slow. So it won't even reach the star in Pisces by the time it's all over, the celebrity star, the star that makes you famous. If you don't do it, it's like, if you don't do it for selfish reasons, it's like you won't fall in that star. Pluto will, if 10 years from now, it would, now that it's in Capricorn, it would have reached it by then, but it doesn't leave the sign, the 30 degrees for 20 years. So at the last sign they talk, there's another sign about the angels in that YouTube channel, but the last, I couldn't find it. But he talks about how Ezekiel is here already. 50 years after Jerusalem was to be a nation, he was to be here. And that was back in the year 2000. So he's been here, and in 2017, he's probably put an end to Ephraim, which is America. Bountiful is what... Plentiful, bountiful, Ephraim. In 2017, before the Revelation sign was given, Revelation 12 sign, he's probably banished America. So we're doomed now. But Trump had to be put in office to get Jared Kushner to sign that peace treaty, because at the start of the Great Tribulation, or before it, there's going to be probably another peace treaty signed, a covenant with many, so no one can come up against them. And Israel has done enough, to already get it started. But Trump had to come into power, I think, to make that happen, because under the Democrats, there wouldn't have been any peace treaty signed under Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner is a Jew. He lives at 666th Avenue is his office building, or where he lives, and he's probably funding the Mark of the Beast as a factory to make it. It's like the Jews I hope they don't want to enslave humanity. And while they think they can get off scot-free. But if there's a peace treaty signed, it has to be honored. But it won't be honored for 7 years. It will only be honored for 3.5. So that's how I know the confirmation of the year 2028, 7 years from the end of this year. That's how I know. It's when he started talking about those other signs happening. The last sign probably happens. So there's some asteroids that he listed in there that will be seen. One of them will explode. The last sign happens when, okay, so the meteorite shower, I guess that happens in Serpines in the year 2020, 29, 30, 31. After the woman sign happens again. And the explosion of the asteroid happens in 2028, I'm thinking, when God returns. So isn't that all that interesting? And the Jewish feasts are paramount, the Jewish holidays are paramount to calculating some of these things. But it all happens on God's timetable. No man knoweth the day or the hour. But we do know the signs to look for Jesus. When the fig starts to casting its leaves, what did he say? Keep your eyes open. To me, those are more important than wars and rumors of wars or famines for an indication of the last days. Why in April 1948? That's when the nation of Israel was established. That's the same year my mom was born. Andrew Lloyd Webber was born. My dad was born a year later. My mom is Couscous Caraway, the cat of T.S. Eliot, and my dad is Murad Ali Beg, who, after his wife, my mom Carol, died, remarried Mirla Ali Beg, a T.S. Eliot cat, and I still think I'm cat cockalorum. So I had a love interest from Bad Cinderella, Prince Sebastian. Who is the model? Bellevue has to be the town of Winnemucca, because I know the people who work at the Red Cross and her family, Bad Cinderella, who married the baker from Reno, and they now live in the South. She does have a brother. She has 2 sisters. Her mom was the head of the American Red Cross, Sonny Johnson. She has a husband. He was in the military. They were miners. He was a miner in Idaho. They moved here, and they've been here ever since. And now they work, instead of the Red Cross that kicked them all out, probably thanks to Amanda Johnson. No, I'm just kidding. Now they work for the Lions Club, which is also a charity. American Red Cross had a bunch of at least 100 youth, like from the high school and whatnot, while they were under Sonny Johnson, which was over 10 years ago. And now they're getting a youth group reestablished for the Lions Club. The Lions Club, they help raise money for, I don't know, they're not the Red Cross, but they raise money for blindness issues. Of course, with a little bit of astaxanthin, or whatever the zebrafish eats, the algae that zebrafish eats, it will regrow stem cells. You can regrow your stem cells and repair your entire body. But astaxanthin is crucial if you want to repair your the same stem cell that the zebrafish. That's why the zebrafish has perfect vision its whole life. It eats the algae in Hawaii. And there are other carotenoids that also would be beneficial, but nothing works on stem cells like astaxanthin. So and salmon turns pink because of carotenoid, so eat that too. Yummy salmon. Um, like they said on the American Broadway version of Bad Cinderella, choreographed by the Alexander Hamilton producer, no donation is too much, and no donation is too much. No donation is too big, and no donation is too big. Prince Sebastian. I happened to put my cat cock alarm to Calvin and Hobbes. I wanted to be the tiger. Calvin and Hobbes are philosophers. Calvin was a Frenchman who moved to England, or was it Sweden or Norway, who was a reformer from the Catholic Church to Protestantism. And then Hobbes, 100 years later, reinforced the idea that kings have a divine right to be king. So if you're from Britain or France, you're part of the Holy Roman Empire, let's face it. They're going to the beast system. Whereas in Sweden, they were never part of the beast system. They're more from Germany. But they married to black Africans. They had slaves. And so I found out my whole story of my genealogy. One of my fathers promised one of my great-great-great-grandfathers from England. His parents were from England. They settled in South Africa near Zimbabwe, the Kalahari Desert where Jerusalem was. He was a shepherd. He converted to Mormonism because of two missionaries. Her father promised her the angel of music. I would love to be that angel because I love music. I would love to be a musicologist and a music therapist, other than just making original audio of Cats the musical on Broadway. By T.S. Eliot, music. It's a ballet musical set to music by Andrew Lloyd Webber, and there's another composer in England who is also, or I don't know from, but also born on the same day as Andrew Lloyd Webber, also a Pisces, and he's right there on that celebrity star that I was talking about in Pisces. There's like 4 fixed stars. There's other stars that are important, but there's 2 important celebrity stars, but the Pisces one is the biggest one. And Prince Sebastian had to be a male model I met online called Emmett Charm, who I named Cat Argyle as an event, coinciding with my doctor named Dr. Argyle. The movie they just made is called Argyle. It's a precious little cat, because I don't think Emmett Charm belongs in a junkyard. Person, place, thing. I haven't made the music video yet, but I put ideas on the playlist. It's called Pollicle Dogs playlist or something. That has the ideas to it. He was in a relationship with a male model called Paul Cassidy. They are from France, German, and Russia, that area, that little cluster area right here. And here in Bellevue is where the Basque, Winnemucca, Bellevue and Bad Cinderella, Winnemucca here. The Basque came here. The Martin Hotel has been here since the late 1800s, 1890, around the time of Phantom of the Opera, 1895. And then in Love Never Dies, Christine comes to New York to meet the Phantom. They're in a really, I don't want to give you any spoilers, but that happens in 1905. Nikola Tesla had invented electricity already. He's a Jellicle cat. His video is on my uploads playlist. I made a cat for Nostradamus and a cat for Nikola Tesla. Both of them sung to memory, the song Memory from Grisabella the Glamour Cat, which wouldn't have been discovered unless Andrew Lloyd Webber had got the rights from it from Valerie Eliot, T.S. Eliot's last and wife. She only died around 2010 or 12. So my docudrama of Cats the Musical is up there. There are original audio music videos of the Cats set to Walt Disney, Disney and other content, modern content. I couldn't have done this any sooner than 2010, and I couldn't have completed it until early this last year, 2003. It's funny because 3.5 years after the Revelation 12 sign happened, where the dragon vows to make war on the children of the women who had fled into the wilderness, who had been given wings to fly. Read it. But that's when I first posted my first Cats music video, which was from back in 2008, 9, or 10, is when those movies came out: Chronicles of Narnia, Shrek with Puss in Boots, Christmas special. If you've seen my other videos, you'll know the story, the backlog. But that's when I made a new one, Memory, for Puss in Boots, Kitty Galore, for Sarah Brightman, who is now an American citizen as around 2010. I just wouldn't want to be anywhere overseas when America is attacked this year or next year. It's not going to be more than 2 years from now, folks. Because remember, we have 1 year leeway. Because although the sign of the woman expires before the nation of Israel turns 80, so the woman sign expires in February of 2000 and what is it, 20, whatever the 3.5 years from what I said was from the woman's sign. Israel turns a nation 2 months afterwards. I don't think Adam died so that the nation of Israel could be a nation. It's something different. It's something else. For 70 or 80 years, a woman in Israel can expect to live 84 or 86 years. A man lives much shorter. A man lives longer if he marries a woman 10 years younger than him. You know, Bad Cinderella is a little bit more than 10 years younger than me. We're the same astrological chart almost completely, including our nodes, north and south node, except she's opposite mine. Of course, this year those nodes are opposite from what they had been. They're in reverse. We share a lot of conjuncted planets, Bad Cinderella and I. So I pictured myself as Ophiuchus, like a portrait in the video game of Harry Potter, like all dressed up as a physician, Greek physician. Because I kind of know a little bit about healing, alternative medicine, not much, but mostly about nutrition. I wanted to be a toxicologist, but I couldn't do the math or the science. But as far as nutrition science, now that I do know now. How to heal yourselves with food. Each food has its own secret. Each of the 4 blood types reacts differently to lectins. And thanks to infomercials like Dr. Stephen Gunry and the naturopath Linda Lucille, or whatever it is, they're all on my Instagram. Including, it's like, I'm now a model spokesperson for Jared, the Galleria of Fine Jewelry. It can only be Jared. So I needed my cat, my Prince Sebastian, my Emmett Charm. His modeling agency contacted me, and that's how I discovered him. But we've never met or talked to each other directly. We've never FaceTime. I don't even know if I've ever texted him, to be honest. It's probably just someone pretending to be him. But that's how I discovered his modeling agency. And so I thought, yeah, he should be Gryffindor, you know. But then I thought, listen, I mean, so the song Only You, Lonely You talks about, I put to a music video of Calvin and Hobbes, the comic strip. Remember the 2 philosophers, Calvin and Hobbes. Of course, Emmett would have to be, and remember, I've never met him. He does his blogs on his YouTube channel and Instagram, and he's a model on YouTube and Instagram. So is Paul Cassidy and Bellamai. Bellamai might as well be the 7 dwarves, Snow White and the 7 dwarves. story, which is going to be remade in a few months from now. It'll be released in theaters. Who's Prince Charming? I don't know. In Snow White, is it Emmett? Is it Paul? Who is it? But to stay on point, because it's late, it's January the 11th, 2024 now, 4:45 a.m. Pacific time here in northern Nevada, Winnemucca. So the song about Jenny Any Dots, I put it to the sing of Malfoy being tricked by Ron Weasley and Harry Potter with their potion when they become the House of Slytherin and talk to Malfoy in disguise after drinking the potion, and Hermione turns into a cat because there was a hair in the potion of a cat. She's Jenny Any Dots, Emma Watson, the personification of a jellicle cat. She's from France, by the way, her part of her family. So in that music video, with tiger stripes and leopard spots, tiger stripes, that's they're the neckties of the four houses. The tiger stripes one is the Gryffindor, which was what Harry Potter is in. But the leopard spots is Slytherin, what their tie is. So I put leopard spots. To me, it's being a leper, someone that needs to be healed, or something where you need to be healed, where tiger, the stripes tie, I put Paul Cassidy, his ex-lover, who is Cat Sprite. So the comic strip author of Calvin and Hobbes. He had an actual cat named Sprite. Most celebrities or people on YouTube or social media, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, they have a pet cat. So did Taylor Swift, who appeared in Cats, the live-action version of 2019. At the end of 2019, she has some cats, so this Cat Sprite, he as Paul Cassidy. The song is the Sprite commercial. It's on my playlist. I don't know what else to say because I don't know enough to make these videos quite yet. So in my portrait, I wanted a cat. I wanted it to be Argyle. So he would have to be the House of Slytherin. They believe that witches were persecuted by mudbloods and muggles, and they don't think that humans should have magic. Gryffindor thinks magic is delegated to humans as a form of justice. They don't mind that Hermione was a mudblood. Humans can use magic wand, but not very well at all. Whereas if you have one parent who's has magical blood in them, or is a mudblood, they can. So Hermione has one parent who is a mudblood, or who is a magical person, and the other person is a muggle. Mudblood means mixed. A human. Okay. So, and Emma Watson did have a crush on Malfoy. So I would say that Paul Cassidy, his personification would be Malfoy. But the paradox is, so Emma Watson they saw each other, the actor who plays Malfoy, I forget the name. Is it Tom? What is it? But he appeared recently on their reunion a few years ago of Hogwarts Legacy, where J.K. Rowling wasn't invited. So crazy. The third installment of Magical Beasts and Where to Find Them was canceled last year. But they're making Harry Potter, then The Curse of the Child. It's a play. It was a book collaborated with J.K. Rowling as a play. It's not a book, it's a play, but you can buy it as a book. But go watch it. I haven't watched it. And it's already been made into a movie that's being made now because I've seen the preview. So Harry Potter was born in 1980. So he had to have been at least 18 before he had a kid. So 80, 90, 2000. So now that child would have been, more than 20 years old by now, 2024. where Lord Voldemort might make some kind of cameo or a return. I don't know. Grindelwald is who Professor Dumbledore had a gay relationship with, but it didn't last long in the movie. On the coat of arms, Paul Cassidy would have to be, in my estimation, the Gryffindor, and not the Slytherin. So my love interests, Prince Charming, Emmett Charm, which is not his real name, he being from someplace near Russia. What is it? Bratislava, which isn't far from. So all of the models of Bellamai have been here since 1980, or maybe that's too soon. Maybe 1990. I don't know, but you can look them up. But they do work also in the porn industry. Bellamai, it's a novel by a Frenchman who happens to the actor that was in the Twilight Saga, Robert Pattinson, was in Bellamai. So there's a movie for it in a way. But they're not just gay; they're straight. They're all straight Europeans pretending to be gay. They're not gay. Prince Sebastian, the idea of the divine right of a king to rule. It's so crazy. Calvin and Hobbes, because I made that music video of Only You, Lonely You from Bad Cinderella, which Prince Sebastian sings, before I even met Emmett Charm. So you're telling me I'm the lovable stuffed animal cat, and he is the mischievous boy who was in a relationship in his youth. He was raped in his youth. I wouldn't say raped, but I wasn't there. I can't talk about it. I don't know. And I don't mean to embarrass anyone, but the truth of these things should be made clear and public. And when it comes to typecasting, which is what I guess I've been doing, something I never thought I could ever do. Then you have Gryffindor. Gryffindor is a lion, of course, where Harry Potter is in. A lion. Paul Cassidy, the lion. Another cat. Gryffindor is just a lion. Whereas Ravenclaw is actually an eagle. And they have different colors in the book for their tie in the book is a stripe of copper or brass. But in the movie, it's a stripe of silver. So there are two people there. One of them would have to be Alex. He's the person who introduced me to Bellamai. So I know his voice well. Gryffindor, so Ravenclaw. So there are two of them, one for each color tie, one for the book, one for the movie. And it has, those colors have to do with the code of chivalry and something about British pageantry where colors and medals, you can look up the article on Google search because I haven't posted it yet, but it explained why colors have to be certain ways and why British didn't use certain colors or medals and things and such. It's fascinating. So if the voice is one color, the voice I've been talking to, I haven't seen maybe I've seen a picture of him, but not officially. I've only talked to his voice many times. Never talked to the voice of Emmett Charm. I've been talking to a voice of an imposter of Emmett Charm, who's not working with Alex. So I would put them in Ravenclaw. One is in the book and one is in the movie. And they believe that when it comes to humans and magic, the Ravenclaw, so in the movie, they turned their eagle into a crow, but in the book, it's an eagle. Of course, a crow was the mother of the lady, the Greek woman turned into a crow was the mother of Ophiuchus, the Greek physician, who found a way to cure humans that Zeus and Mount Olympus didn't want humans to be cured or made independent or separate from the gods. Ravenclaw, right. So there's the House of Ravenclaw, and they believe that magic is something to be studied. We don't need to know why it exists. We don't need a reason why. It's just useful to study and to know there and there. In the video game, the house was created as kind of an astronomical observatory with a big eagle in the video game. A golden eagle opens up. Those common rooms are beautiful in Hogwarts Legacy, the video game, on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. PC, beautiful, stunning. It looks like Thomas Kincaid paintings. When you go out into shop at Hogsmeade, all the stores and all the cottages and villages and the forests and the things you can fly over on your broom. And the castle is stunning. It's the newest graphic technology available, and it can be updated because it's on PC. But it's not an online game like PlayStation 3 Home, which is how I got my start in the video game avatar creating thing. I was doing it before CGI became a thing on YouTube or Instagram. The Hufflepuff common room was created in the video game as well. It's stunning. They're much bigger than they are in the movie or the book. The whole thing is breathtaking. And now you have Avatar, Tears of Pandora or something. It's a video game. Just came out a few months ago. Maybe last month in November or December. But I don't own it, but you get the idea of what they can do. It had never been done on the PlayStation 4 or the PlayStation 3. It's how far and how fast they've come. And I think now it's been released on Nintendo Switch Wii, which, unless you like portable gaming, it's just a fancy Game Boy. I wouldn't waste my money on it, per se. But there are many franchises that you could play on it. In fact, I spent most of my time using the Nintendo Switch. It even had a YouTube app, where it's not very good because it buffers. I can't stand it. I played Clue on it. And I did something statistically rare on Clue, on that Nintendo Wii game. It's an online Clue against other players, or you can play it by yourself. But I like to play it online against other people. And several times, and especially one time, I did something on Clue almost statistically impossible. So those things like Tetris and but back in the game when the Game Boy came out, there was Dexterity. It was my favorite video game, and the Game Boy had The Legend of Zelda. It had Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 2. They were really clever games. Look them up on YouTube if you want to see what they look like. It's not, of course, there were no graphics back then. It's the gameplay that was fascinating, and it hasn't been duplicated ever since. Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 2, and Zelda that was on Game Boy. The gameplay was just... Well, Zelda, it's always good, but Final Fantasy 1 and 2, it's the strategy. It's what those things did when you found them or discovered them, and you could be creative with them. I like interactive. I mean, if I can't be interactive, then I switched to online game, which was on PlayStation 3 Home, where I took thousands of photos and turned them into music videos or sketches. One of them is Harry Potter, which I put to music. 2 of them are Harry Potter. 3 of them are Harry Potter. One is to Lalo's Cello Concerto. One of them is just to a tune before. It was called Pottermore. It was just scenes of Harry Potter. But commenting on Hufflepuff, they believe that magic is a gift. Magic is something you share with humans. And in Hufflepuff, which Hermione Granger almost got sent to by the Sorting Hat, but she didn't have the creativity for it. It could be any of the number of the 7 dwarves in Snow White, a live action remake. It could be any of the other 7 models of Bellamy. There's more than just 7 central ones. But they believe that their gifts and talents should be shared with everyone. And so that to me was the coat of arms that I was talking about. Look online and see what each of their ties are, but they need a separate tie for Ravenclaw. If it's a silver stripe in it, it's from the book. If it's a bronze stripe, it's from, no, if it's a bronze stripe, it's from the book. If it's a silver stripe, it's from the movie. And I don't have anything much more to say because I'm running on. This is the last part of a 3-part video that kept getting cut off because of bad storage on my phone. But I can fix that now, because why should I allow my videos to be corrupted? I can't even access them when I'm online from my phone. It's dumping videos. Videos, yeah, I might have saved to the iCloud, but you don't always have access to iCloud. You don't even always have access to the internet. So I'm really upset about it. To my fans, just know that nothing that I've made that was important has been lost. Everything important is on my YouTube channel. What they wouldn't allow to be published in the beginning is on Instagram. Instagram did publish the main cast, but the ensemble cast, all the other names that never got a poem to them per se, although that's not true, because poems were written for that ensemble cast, which you will find on my Instagram. All of the ensemble cast names have a celebrity, a person, place, and a thing to them now. If I wanted to do it, I could come up with 100 more music videos for cats, person, place, and thing that I haven't done yet. But do you think I could do that in a year before America is gone, or 2 years before America is gone? If I pass away because of this snake venom, or rabies, or mad cow disease, and I know how to treat mad cow disease, DMSO, it's in rainwater, but you want to get it from a natural source of it, from a prescription, from a naturopath. A medical doctor, MD, won't help you. But you don't want to take the synthetic form like they give to animals, or they rub on animals for arthritis or injuries, spinal cord injuries, or snake venom bites also is good for DMSO. I won't get into the remedies for it because they're on that video that doctor on Rumble. The link is on my Instagram page. Well, just as a square. You have go to the right square and you'll find the link. Because I'd rather a doctor talk about it, not me. If you can't get a Social Security benefit, see if your doctor can find a personality disorder, and one that doesn't require medication. A little secret, because nothing about the Social Security system makes sense to me whatsoever. It doesn't make sense. Nothing of it makes sense to me. And why can't we pay more taxes in it, like lock in our tax payment to go up so when we start, so that when we retire, we can collect more of a benefit, or if we fall ill, we can collect more of a benefit. You don't have to have an illness to collect SSI. It's like, if you injure yourself by lifting something, you can collect SSI, even if you can still work. It's like, so nothing about that system makes sense to me at all. And it is so hard to get a diagnosis for something you have, like arthritis. You have to have it for a year. There's just so many rules, and it's nonsensical. That's all I'm going to say about that for now. You can only collect it if you, even if you've never worked. If you've married a person, but you had to have been married to them for 10 years, why can't housewives get paid just for having been married to someone? And it's like, I don't know. It goes without saying. Why not? Why can't you get the benefit if you volunteered enough in your community? Why not? Because our whole system is owned. Since the Civil War, it got sold. Our economic system got sold to European nationals, and it kept on getting sold to the British Crown, who's in league with the banking system, and so Social Security, Congress, it's all controlled by foreign internationals, and the Federal Reserve, our debt. So we were doomed to failure from the start because of slavery. It's like we wouldn't have gone into debt as a nation if we had just rejected slavery from the start. I don't know why they didn't. write it into the Constitution after the Civil War to abolish slavery right then and there. But if they had, it's like we would still be in control. But alas, and now Pluto, the planet of transformation, transmutation, or metamorphosis, whatever it could be, it is now entering Capricorn, the same as it was back then. It's like, as Martin Luther King, a jellicle cat, said, free at last, we're free at last, thank God Almighty, we're free at last. And so that, to me, is the coat of arms from Harry Potter, and who is in it. And look for the models of Bellamy in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs coming in March, April, or May of this year. Because if Disney waits beyond 1 or 2 years to release something, it'll never get published. Yeah, we're never going to see another Avatar 3 movie. They're the cats to the Peaks and the Pollicles poem by T.S. Eliot. That's who, the cat is, the cat in that, of course, so Sigourney Weaver is one of the cats, and so is the guy that was in the wheelchair, who is also in a Disney movie as a cat on that guy's lap, who was a jazz musician, what was in CGI, I don't remember the name of it. We won't see another one of those movies. It won't be released in time, although they had already filmed it 10 years ago. Good for them, because it's not going to see the light of day. In all likelihood, unless it comes out next year, because it's not coming out this year, as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong on anything. Because what I've said goes against a lot of what a lot of people believe. But yes, I am once saved, always saved. I would love nothing better than to continue studying and lecturing on YouTube, because I only went to college for 1.5 years, but after what I've told you, I might as well be an associate professor. Bachelor of Arts in English literature, Bachelor of Arts in Liberal Arts, Masters in English Literature, doctoral dissertation, Revelation 12 sign, and as I continue, associate professor. I don't have any real credentials other than I was in Lincoln Douglas debate. Thank you, Mr. Powell, Meridian High School. Thank you, Melinda Perrio, drama teacher, Meridian High School. Thank you to the drama coach here at Lowry High in Winnemucca, Nevada, because I've been attending their plays, and they do a great job. They're the best show in town. They're the best act in town. Thank you to Melinda Perrio, who gave me my big break. After I failed Mrs. Williams in 8th grade and 7th grade in the Taming of the Shrew play. We didn't know our lines, we didn't know nothing. But Libby, who's still a friend of mine on Facebook, she was the shrew played by Elizabeth Taylor. We took that sketch and auditioned for an after-school high school play in Herndon, Virginia, in Herndon High. Thank you to Mrs. Loudenslager, who is the godmother in Bad Cinderella, my orchestra teacher, who is retired now and married she's married and married in the East Coast. She's a Democrat. Bad Cinderella is a Democrat who has met Hillary Clinton. Who knew? I was the Reverend Paris in The Crucible, the Salem Witch Trials, a true story, all of it's true, written by a Jewish playwright, Arthur Miller, who was he in a relationship with Marilyn Monroe. Because I did great as the Reverend Paris. Well, I had a good memory and I remembered my lines. And that was my big break. Of course, thank you to my 6th grade music teacher for getting me into all-county chorus. Thank you to my stepmom, Mirla Alibeg. Mirla means the sea. All these names have many meanings depending on what language it's in. And T.S. Eliot spoke at least 4 or 5 languages. He was going to get his so I would love to get my dissertation paper completed, but my thing, because it's so subjective, would only be a dissertation thesis, because religion means different things to different people. There's no set value on it. other than what it says in plain English in the Bible. And so please do not read into more of what I've said than is actually true. Because faith only works. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen in the Bible, according to Paul. I'm sure Paul was black, but he was also a citizen of Rome. So was he white also? I mean, I think he was a black citizen because I'm sure Rome had black citizens. I forgot my train of thought, but about what faith is. Our salvation works on faith because when what you're believing is true, that's when it works. But the Bible says in Revelation, those that believe a lie will be damned, which is why I pray for my Mormon family. All of my family is Mormon on both sides. I have some 6% Native American Indian blood in me. But I come from Sweden on my mom's side and from Britain on my dad, British on my dad's side. My dad's dad had relatives traced back from here in America from before the Revolutionary War. Of my grandma Routson, her ancestor became a Mormon, married someone who was a Mormon dating back to the early church history of the Book of Mormon founding in 1830, shortly around there, maybe 1840. And then, of course, on my dad's side is related to Robert E. Lee. So I hate to admit that one of my ancestors fought for slavery, but I think the Civil War meant more than that. I think they were fighting for control of something other than slaves. They were fighting for control of something that didn't have to do with slavery. I'm as Mormon as they get. I was a Mormon my whole life until 2019. I got baptized into D3 Church, which is now called Living Stones, in April of 2019. The next year, Corona hit. And three and a half years after that Revelation 12 sign was given is when I first posted the first Sarah Brightman cat video. Then that's when the dragon vowed to make war on the children of the woman. And yes, my rising sign is Virgo the Virgin. 10% of me is Leo. The 10% headed that way into the 12th house. On the other side of the mountain in Provo, Utah. On February 6, 1977 at 7:39 p.m. is when I was born at night. You don't see the sun in me, you see the moon, because the moon is in my first house, right in Virgo the Virgin. Of course, in my second house is Virgo the Virgin also, which is and a smidgen of Libra, where my North Node is. North Node in Libra, South Node in Pisces, opposite of Bad Cinderella. In the house of Taurus, the second house, the house where you live is where all the magic happens, is where I live. Because my North Node is there, Pluto is there, but it's in retrograde. My Saturn is in retrograde also in... it's not in Leo, it's in retrograde in my 12th house of the unconscious, your unconscious, subconscious, in Cancer. So my mom was a Gemini and my dad is a Scorpio, the first 7 degrees of Scorpio. And I don't know what else to say, but I'm a son of Zeus. Mormonism is nothing but Greek religion, return to Christianity in disguise. Joseph Smith saw God the Father. Zeus is who he saw, and a white Jesus. And the Book of Mormon is white people. Well, no, the Jews were African. There were no whites that came over and then became Native American as a curse. They were Africans. The Vikings might have come over here before Columbus and before 1492. And big thanks to Queen Elizabeth I. Unless she had done her work, the colonies wouldn't have been settled. The next king was King James in 1607, and that's why I use 1607 link in some of my social media things. The colonists at Roanoke disappeared when their patrons sailed back to England. When they came back, those colonists were gone. The only clue was Croatan was a word written in a stump. So if you take survey of American literature, thank you, Professor Louise Ackley, who's still with us from Boise State University, the best English department in town and in the West, and Professor Sherry McGuire. Thank you to my high school, Meridian High School English teacher. Also, I don't like novels. I don't like writers. I don't like Steinbeck. I don't like things like Lord of the Flies. I didn't like The Great Gatsby. I don't like literature, but she talked about Arthurian legend. And I had a writing professor at Boise State University for just a semester. She was great, but it was Sherry McGuire who I took my survey of Western literature, the Greek literature and world literature. That's where I learned about Hildegard of Bingen and the Passion Play set to music that she wrote. She was one of the first main composers. Although she didn't invent the right tones, some Gregorian monastery invented the correct frequency to notes. A should never be tuned to anything but 417 and all those frequencies. Middle C is the frequency of love and connects to what we see and who we are. It's the green-yellow frequency. It's on YouTube about the solfeggio scale, and that frequency is middle C, which, what is it, 520, 530 hertz? But there are specific frequencies. Any other frequency is harmful to you, especially 440A is harmful, what we tune our concert music to. 432 is another scam, but it's maybe better than 440. 430 is a scam. No, it has to be 417 exactly to tune your orchestra to 417. And when you're singing, you have to hit those right frequency notes, which they did in Gregorian chant and in the music of India. Of course, the Jews in Ethiopia. The Jews in Ethiopia carry on their oral tradition and their music tradition and their musical instrument tradition. So if you want to hear what a real Jew sounds like, listen to what they have on YouTube. So I'm expanding what I know about musicology, and I'm loving what I did with some of the classical composers set to modern day visuals. Dante's Inferno, the video game, I set it to, Symphonie Fantastique, around 1830, around the time of Joseph Smith. I don't know what else to say, but there are too many people to thank, especially Sunny Johnson of the American Red Cross, where I got to volunteer at her office. So I have the whole backlog of Bad Cinderella, and thank you to Northern, what do they call it? I apologize, but it's a Sage Theater here in Winnemucca, Northern Nevada Council of the Arts, Sage Theater. They did Channeling Grimm. It's a play. It goes along with Bad Cinderella. You can watch it on YouTube, but that site hasn't posted their play. I only posted a snippet of it. That was at the Boys and Girls Club. It was only built 10 years ago. It's a brand new facility with a basketball court and weight room and everything for youth to go to have a safe place. And they have programs for children and youth. And please support the Boys and Girls Club in your donations. Please support any charity that gives to children also. You will never regret it. Yeah, Africa is a graveyard. Sending money to anyone in Africa, it never ends. Madonna adopted some kids. She's a Jellicle cat also. She adopted Patrick Stewart. She adopted some kids from Africa. You have to be rich to do that. But sponsor a child through the right program. And Patrick Stewart, he's a pollicle dog. How can Will Smith is a Jellicle cat trying to be a pollicle dog as the Green Lantern? It's like he's a wannabe because a Jellicle cat cannot be a pollicle dog, and a pollicle dog cannot be a Jellicle cat. So why do I say that Patrick Stewart could be a Jellicle cat, and though he's a pollicle dog, he's from the X-Men, as superheroes are pollicle dogs. Patrick Stewart is going to be in a new Star Trek movie about Picard, and he had a recent series of it. They did a great job. I love it. And I have to say, so Macavity, when they first wrote the poem, who's going to be Macavity? Is it going to be from Lord of the Rings, like Gandalf? Is it going to... Chronicles of Narnia came out later. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs came out sooner. Fantasia, I think it came out before. T.S. Eliot published his book in 1939, a month after the World War II broke out. That book describes how we were going to win the war, because all of those poems describe cats in Hollywood that were to come in the next 50 years, you know. All of those poems are original audio material to what we have in our Disney movies and such in modern times. I lost my train of thought other than, so Patrick Stewart. And if you want to hear who Bad Cinderella's lover is, listen to Kelly Clarkson, You Don't Know a Thing About Me. Or for Bad Cinderella, Kelly Clarkson's song, Miss Independence, for who Bad Cinderella is. Bad Cinderella's moon is half of what my moon is, and it's in Ophiuchus. My moon is a shrinking moon from a full moon. 2 days it shrunk from a full moon. But it had been a full moon the day before in Leo. If I had been born sooner in the day, my rising sign would be Leo, not Virgo the Virgin. So any planets that are in the first house will reflect in your person what the degree farthest from the ascendant is who you actually are, but the world sees you as the degree on your horizon. You know, it's the cross. The top is your career. The bottom is your family life, your ancestry. Here is your partner on the opposite side of your rising sign. And so what people see me not as Virgo the Virgin, but as Leo the Lion. But it's not the same. How the nodes, there are things on your birth chart which are related to the sun and the moon, how they intersect, such as your north and south node. Well, the moon, they're saying it dips down each cycle, but sometimes it's in retrograde. And it has something to do with reincarnation, maybe. You know, the stars, Egyptian religion. They're saying that some of these celebrities have been reincarnated because they have photos of them. Don't know if it's true, but it's on YouTube. But that the path of the moon would ever go backwards, it's not physically possible. Just another evidence why the Earth is flat and not round. Patrick Stewart. Yeah, and when it intersects, it's like a hula hoop on the ground, you know, rolling. You know, it always intersects in the next degree in the sign. They say it's in retrograde. However, how can it be in retrograde when it's moving forward? What order the constellations actually would be in outer space, I don't know, but I just know that the moon would have to be turning counterclockwise for it to make sense. They don't go in reverse order, but every 4 minutes every day, the sign rises sooner. So the signs rise different in the summer than they do in the winter. Now, how is that possible? 4 minutes fast. It's like not in outer space, unless it accounts for a leap year, where February has 29 days instead of 28. No, this is not possible in outer space. This has to be something mechanical that the angels oversee. Like in the Book of Enoch, some planets were banished to, I don't know, purgatory until the end of the millennium. The planets were banished and Enoch was seeing them. Well, they couldn't be bigger than the size of Texas, whatever they are. The moon, the craters that we see on it are also the result of electrochemical plating. It's what electricity does. It puts big dents in iron, cast iron, or whatever. How the moon actually works, I do not know. I just know that it can't, what we see in the sky cannot be done in outer space. It has to be something artificial. And stars have metaphysical properties to people. If your planet Venus is within 1 degree of that star of Pisces, it's like metaphysical, spiritual properties. They're not just chemicals up in space, atoms. There's something spiritual about them. Some stars are more influential than others. Pluto is more influential than the new Neptunian planets we just discovered. The farthest one out being not far out, but far, far out. And they all have oval-shaped, strange orbits. Very strange. But they won't prevent a moon from going void of course just because that void of course moon chart that people consult, it's not true. You have to reconfigure the actual times that something made its last aspect within a certain sign. But my moon is not void of course. So when you see me, you see the moon in 10 degrees away from the edge of the second house in Virgo the Virgin. But I'm rambling. Patrick Stewart, how can I say he's a Jellicle cat and a Pollicle dog? As he plays Captain Picard. So Sherlock Holmes, Macavity the Mystery Cat, the poem. Macavity, there's no one like Macavity. He's a fiend in feline shape. He breaks the laws of gravity. He always has an alibi or one or two to spare. But when the crime's discovered, Macavity's not there. Sherlock Holmes, English literature, Professor Moriarty. I didn't use the PBS version of Sherlock Holmes in my music video for Macavity as Moriarty. I used the new Star Trek series, Moriarty. He's not the emergency medical hologram. He's not a holodeck simulation. He's I don't know what the backlog is, but he can leave the holodeck without, what the Doctor could wear from Star Trek Voyager with Kate Mulgrew and that whole cast. Of course, 7 of 9 from Voyager from back in the late 90s makes a reappearance in Picard, the series. Moriarty was imprisoned in a cube thinking he was in reality, but he's trapped in this simulation cube in Star Trek, the Next Generation series from the 80s, 1988, 89, the last series that Gene Roddenberry ever had any complete control over. And so Picard to me is the Jellicle cat of Moriarty. Why Picard? Picard must be a Gemini. I didn't know you can't really see the constellations very well unless you have a telescope. But on YouTube is where I'm learning. You go out, you see the constellation of Orion, which is a giant, who had an affair with one of a Greek goddess, sister of Apollo. Apollo didn't like it and sent out scorpions, killed the giant. So he's not a human, he's a giant. He's not Orion the Hunter, he's a giant. So on the opposite side of Gemini or Aries is Scorpio. So it's a scorpion chasing the giant, but they never reach each other. But on the left-hand side of Orion is the constellation of Gemini. They are two twins, stick-figure twins. They're two human boys. One of them died in battle. The other twin alive prayed for him to the gods. Was it Zeus or must have been Zeus? So Zeus allows him to leave Hades for half the time, and the other twin is in the body, and then the other twin goes to Hades, the underworlds, ruled by the ruler of Scorpio, which is the Greek god Hades of the underworld. But on the right-hand side is Taurus of Gemini, of Orion is Taurus, and that's how I learned how they go. Taurus is moving this way to the 12th, then the 11th, then the 10th house. That way is northeast to the west. So we're rising, things are rising on the east. So your first house is on the horizon where you can't necessarily see it. I can't see it because of the mountain. And then it goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that way to the east towards in America the Atlantic Ocean. There in the west the Pacific Ocean. Patrick Stewart is a Gemini. I don't know what it means to be a Gemini, but you can be multifaceted. My best friend who joined not my best friend, but he got his degree in literature in University of Reno. He taught at Lowry High School for a little bit, didn't go well. He was the wrestling coach, and now he's working for reasons, so I won't discuss it. And he was my next door neighbor. He rented where my grandpa Jim owned the duplex. He passed away in 2017, December 2017. I moved out of that duplex and I'm now in an apartment. Things are going well here. Hopefully we'll stay that way. Patrick Stewart, what is he looking at when he sees Moriarty? The Frenchman, Jean-Luc Picard, meets the Englishman, Moriarty. Does the Frenchman see his reflection in Moriarty at all? Because the actor Patrick Stewart is a Shakespearean thespian. He was in Hamlet. Patrick Stewart played Ebenezer Scrooge in Christmas Carol, the movie, where Ebenezer Scrooge meets the ghosts of Christmas past, the ghosts of Christmas present, and the ghosts of Christmas future. No, the planet Saturn on Christmas Day on that Revelation 12 sign. There's no significance of Christmas Day. It's just a special time to remember God, one day of the year where we can remember God. Jesus wasn't born. Yeshua was not born. Joshua was not born that day on Christmas Day. It's a pagan holiday. Some speculate that he was born in September, so he would probably most likely be either Leo the Lion or Virgo the Virgin, but it's all speculation. We can do an ancient birth chart, but we would have to minus 500 years from it to come up with an actual Star of Bethlehem. Was the Star of Bethlehem indicative as a thief, as God says, yes, indeed, I was a thief. The guy next to him on the cross was a thief. Both of them were thieves. The Lord is a thief. But I don't know astrologically if the Star of Bethlehem would indicate the tendency to be a thief. If there's a retrograde planet that's conjunct another planet, the weaker thing on the chart becomes the predominant energy. The weaker energy always becomes the weaker trait that will take over. Remember, a trine, when they're in a triangle, is the most powerful aspect. I have 2 or 4 things in trine. One of them almost turned into a triangle, complete triangle, but it wasn't. Then there were 2 other triangles which are lucky. See, in a triangle, their energies will not negotiate. But in the 2 other slimmer shaped triangles, one is thinner and one is that thin, they're lucky because their energies all work together for the best result. To find out who has that in their chart, I guess you'd have to read up on it on a Google search. What that triangle is called, I don't know. But there's so many things to know about astrology. It's outrageous, as a Frenchman might say. So when the Frenchman Jean-Luc Picard of the Holy Roman Empire, remember France is from the Holy Roman Empire, and so is England. They meet each other. What do they think of each other? So that's how I believe that Patrick Stewart could also be the Jellicoe Cat, Moriarty. So the music video for it, Memory, McCafferty, is on my playlist. And I don't want to make this video too long because now it's over 2 hours. And that's where I'm coming from, and for my fans, thank you. And what I learned about Harry Potter and that coat of arms, amazing, because I'd love to be a portrait in Hogwarts, in that video game. Harry Potter's son would be asking, who is that portrait on the wall of? Of course, it would have been years before now that his son would have been in Hogwarts Legacy, so Hogwarts Legacy even happens 100 years before Harry Potter. So I guess I won't be in that, so any reference of me in. But my ancestors are from England, and without Queen Elizabeth I, I wouldn't be, without England, we wouldn't be here. But of course, without America, England wouldn't have won World War I and II, even though they say they would have eventually. I don't believe it. But of course, without America's independence, probably World War II would never have been fought. Of course, without Nikola Tesla, who he is, his Jellicle cat, the person, place, and thing, I wouldn't have been born. It's like World War I and II wouldn't have been won without Nikola Tesla. Of course, without America, Nikola Tesla probably would not have succeeded. Nikola Tesla probably never should have survived the disease he inflicted on himself to escape the war that was happening in his country near Russia before he went to university, or maybe it was after he went to the university. History without, without the Bible, the writings of the saints, Christianity wouldn't form. Without Constantine, there would have been no Christianity very much at all, wouldn't have survived. Nothing, everything had to happen like clockwork, or we would not be having this conversation. There was nothing common or normal about the Founding Fathers, but they were not all Freemasons. They were not all in a lodge. They were not all Enlightenment thinkers who had divorced themselves from the reality of the Bible. Some of them actually were Christians. And so, thanks to those Christians, we have so much to be grateful for. And I don't know what else to say other than, under England, I don't think Joseph Smith would have ever come to light. I don't think Utah would have ever have been settled. I mean, history is very finicky. And that's all I have to say for now. It's a miracle that I'm here, really. Because without Mormonism, my parents, of course, never would have met. They only met because they were Mormons. Not because they both lived in Utah and Idaho. My dad is they're both from Idaho. Different parts of southern Idaho. Both of their parents were farmers and ranchers. And their family still is in Idaho. There was an eclipse here in Winnemucca, Nevada, a total eclipse of the moon. It was fascinating to see the course that the moon travels on the earth. Bad Cinderella sings, it's like a solar eclipse. Why do they call her Bad Cinderella? Cinderella. Turned into a cinder. America is about to be nuclear annihilated, EMP bombed, all electricity gone, invaded. Maybe heart technology from Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla's technology is not all the death ray, which you might have been killed over in the New Yorker hotel. Some of his technology is healing. He knew about the power of 369. He knew about free energy, how to harvest it. Modern aircraft technology has, thanks to Nikola Tesla. I don't know if Nikola Tesla helped with the motor. The motor had been invented 50 or 100 years before he brought electricity, but he did visit Paris. He was in Paris, where Phantom of the Opera takes place. But Europe didn't adopt his electrical system until a little bit after 1910. But in America, we had adopted it before Phantom of the Opera happened, which is why electricity could have been employed in the Paris Opera House, whatever it's called, which is a real place. There really is that opera house, because that's what the novel is based on, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, which was written in 1910, I believe, by a Frenchman, Phantom of the Opera. So I don't want to go off onto a limb. Oh, but about history, yeah, it's very finicky. If just one of those things falls out of place, I wouldn't have been born. My parents met in Washington, D.C. My dad was going to eventually go on to study law, but he was in the military working in Washington, D.C. for the Commandant of the Marine Corps, actually working for the president in the White House. I mean, I don't know, but my mom was a secretary to President Ford. They met because they were both Mormons going to the Mormon single adults ward. And of course, they were the security detail when President Kimball arrived and for the building of the Washington, D.C. temple. The Mormon temples, it's the Mamas and the Papas song, all the leaves are brown and the sky is gray. That's what describes a Mormon temple. They're otherworldly. They're more than the Hotel Bellagio. I've been in Reno. I've been to those hotels. They're 500 times more elaborate than Little Caesars or Atlantis Hotel or what are the others? I was only in the Caesars Hotel. I wasn't. The buffet in Atlantis is pretty good. Reno's a nice place to visit, but you wouldn't want to live there. Boise is a nice place where I'm from, but you wouldn't want to live there. And both of my parents loved the Constitution. My mom, Carol, passed away when I was in high school, my junior year, which is when I had my prom with, my prom date. I was a junior and she was a senior. And I've rediscovered her on Facebook after all these years from Meridian High School. The prom was at Boise State University Student Union Building. That's where that photograph of me and the prom and Laura Fry was at the prom. She got married and had kids, but they separated, I believe. There's a song for that. It's called, The Class of 95. We all share the same Jupiter pretty much, but she was a year older than me, so her Jupiter is different. Jupiter repels each other, but when it's not aligned, it's a good thing. That's the Chinese astrology is based on the position of Jupiter. And my Jupiter was in Aries, in my house of Sagittarius of philosophy. What was I going to say? Just as long as you stand by me. It's that song. I'm forever yours faithfully. And then Laura Branigan, I discovered her a few months ago. So I put her in the novel of The Chamber of Secrets. How Jellicle cats and dogs are invited by the Phantom of the Opera to the North Pole, where they survived the 7-year Great Tribulation. So her music video, My Self-Control, watch the video. It's not her just singing, but watch the actual official music video. I lose my self-control. There's a novel. They even made a movie of such a thing. It's a recent movie where people go up to this bunker in the Arctic or somewhere cold where it's snowing, and they start getting strange things happen. They start dying. So I love Laura Branigan now. I'm a big fan of her. She died. She did that music video a couple years in 1984, a few years after Cats the musical happened. Phantom of the Opera had been written, but by a different music writer. But after that music video, 2 or 3 years later, came Phantom of the Opera. So she hardly, no one even knew of Phantom of the Opera back then. But watch her music video. There's Jellicle cats in it, and they're computer holograms of the Jellicle cats from T.S. Eliot as dancers. And the Phantom of the Opera is right next to her. He's both a hologram and a real person because he's still alive. Love Never Dies is the song from the remake of Phantom of the Opera. Well, love never does die. A human can live 230 years, and it's been documented in Chinese medicine where a Chinese herbalist did live that long. If the Phantom of the Opera had been born in 1830, 1840, 1850, 1860, if he had been born somewhere along then, he could still be alive if he was using those herbs. It is possible. Or perhaps his son survived him, and if his son was serious about magical arts, he could still be alive. The herbs, ginseng. There are many ginsengs to take. There's an American ginseng. There's a show on harvesters of it in the South. It's very sought after. It only grows wild. Ho Shu Wo is another herb he took. Another herb which go-to berries, but I don't think it's very good for you, those go-to berries. And there's some other things he took also. Godu Cola, the list is on there. So it is possible. People should actually be living 120 years, folks. That's when the Bible says a man can live to be 122. A man can live to be that long. It is possible to live much longer if you know how to. There are many tricks and many things to avoid, many things to do, and none of it has to do with exercise, unfortunately. Although exercise might benefit people who have certain conditions. And I've said a lot, didn't I? I said a lot more than what I originally set out to say. I don't know if it'll post in a 2-hour segment, but it might. That's all I'm going to say for now. Thank you, and please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow my Instagram. The more subscribers I have, the better chances I have of making money, because as of yet, I haven't seen a cent on social media. I've never gotten paid. I'm just now starting to try to open up the paid-for services on other sites, but you have to have 2,000 subscribers to get paid on YouTube, and like 1,000 to get paid to ask to be paid, to even ask for donations, or to offer a membership plan. I have 700 subscribers on Instagram, but that's not enough. I only have 200 subscribers on YouTube on my larger channel and 50 subscribers on my smaller channel. It's the larger channel, Jared Routson, that you'll want to subscribe to. That's the one that has all my work on it. The smaller channel with 50 subscribers is only PlayStation 3 Home sketches, including Happy Birthday Dick Van Dyke. He turns 99 or whatever. He had a celebration on TV just a few weeks ago. And then watch the premiere of Mary Poppins, because you'll see Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke on there with Walt Disney. They're still alive. Walt Disney wanted to turn T.S. Eliot's book into a cartoon, but T.S. Eliot didn't want it to be a cartoon. He didn't want his characters to be pets, actual proper pet cats. He didn't want his characters to be a Disney cartoon or any kind of cartoon at all. The joke's on him. But now we know the Heaviside layer is real, because Oliver Heaviside. In English, they have there's a pronunciation for layer. It's called layer or lear, which I think has to do with a layer of clothing, like the layers of the atmosphere. Layer is could be a den, a layer, a cat's layer, your home. So there's different pronunciations of that word. It's kind of a trick. If Valerie Elliott was alive today and could see my work, and the choreographer Gillian Lynn, who is a Jellicle Cat now, and so anyone who's worked on cats is going to be a Jellicle Cat. They all have one on my now there are a few videos I haven't made, but no, I think the important ones. Even the person who invented the costumes has a music video. But there are a lot of other people who've been involved in cats since its 40th year anniversary a couple years ago. Or no, what was the 80, 90, yeah, 40 years. And the original cast got together and celebrated it on YouTube. Andrew Lloyd Webber is posting his work on YouTube like crazy. All of his work is on YouTube. It's all worth seeing. Every performance and everyone who's performed it is all worth seeing. I've discovered Jesus Christ Superstar because of YouTube. And I would buy all the works. I'd love to buy Bad Cinderella, but you can't buy it. You can listen to the soundtrack of Bad Cinderella that was recorded in 2020 when they couldn't perform it yet, and then it was performed in the English cast performed it only for like 3 or 4 months. Then for like a year it was gone, but it came to America in 2023 for only 3 months. March, April, and May, and then June it was gone. There's only clips of it on YouTube. You cannot buy anything of Bad Cinderella except for the soundtrack. But there is a pirated version of Bad Cinderella on Slime Tutorial YouTube channel. You can watch the London cast, which is the best one, I think, but I haven't seen the American cast. All I know is that the American cast is the lovers of the English cast. It's the lovers of Bad Cinderella and Prince Sebastian in the American cast. The guy who played Prince Sebastian went on to have a career. He did some play called What About Jamie? It's a LGBT play. And then Carrie Fisher, or what is her name, who played Bad Cinderella, went on to do more Broadway or more musicals on stage. I'm really excited about it. It says Bad Cinderella is based on a novel. No, there's no novel about Cinderella, but the author of it is a player. She's a stage actress. But she also wrote some books, some children's books. So find out what they are and buy them, but you won't find Bad Cinderella because it's not, I don't know how to describe it. Because a Jewish American person adapted her idea, and she is the author of Bad Cinderella, also appeared in movie and directed some movies. One movie is about to be released. I even think she was in Barbie the movie. A Jewish writer whose dad is from South America wrote the play. I'm blown away by it. Wrote the dialogue. Somebody else wrote one of the lyrics to the song. I'm sure Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote the music. One of the songs was cut from some of it was cut as it went along. They had plenty of time to work on it. It had bad reviews in America, so it disappeared. I'm interested to see if it's ever going to make an appearance again. However, I would just like them to release something of it so that those of us who want it can buy it. But the really useful group is the one who owns all of that. And it's only by grace that they're allowing me to use any of their work. That anyone has allowed me to use anything of their work to do my original audio music videos. I applied for permission to use it. I haven't, in 2 different applications to the really useful group in England. I haven't gotten a response. But I am always willing to take down anything that infringes on anyone's copyright. Fortunately, the poems are not copyrighted by the really useful group. They're owned by is it Faber and Faber, the publishing group who T.S. Eliot worked for? Faber and Faber. And of course, Sunset Boulevard, the actress of that is the actress that helped start Paramount. Paramount became the company of Star Trek. Without, what is that actress's name? I am big. It's the pictures that got small. Her she was completely American, but she's from, her ancestors, I think, might have been from Sweden. Everything connects together and ties together, and it's kind of like pop culture, and I love doing it. I love when a song, the words can start to have different meanings, and it can become fractal in nature. Onomatopoeia is the device where words can mean different things, and they can start, names and stuff can all start getting connected together and form a story. And if you've seen any onomatopoeia in any of these things, it's wonderful. It's something you'd have to study if you're an English major, if you wanted to pass English in high school. In the book is Writer's Ink, is what you learn in high school about English grammar. And now I'm learning about forgotten Native American languages, dialects and things, and ancient languages. T.S. Eliot knew quite a bit about ancient languages, but T.S. Eliot, it's very rare for an American to become a British citizen, let alone to become recognized in any department. But T.S. Eliot didn't leave America until he was like 24 or 25. He had already met someone and had a love affair, but it didn't work out. He moved to England and married someone. The person had a mental illness, and she was thrown into a mental hospital. T.S. Eliot, his sun is in Virgo, the Virgin. His rising sign, what is it? His rising sign, I think, might be Scorpio. Candy cane's my next door neighbor. Look at all the candy canes she gave me. Aren't they pretty? Because New Year's was just a few days ago. It hadn't snowed all year. After New Year's, it snowed 2 days after. So the whole winter, it hadn't snowed until 2 days ago. And then it snowed twice. A huge, well, for this town, it's rare for it to snow anyway, but it snowed quite a bit. And so now I can't go walking and listening and watch my Love Never Dies on Phantom of the Opera, or Aida sung by Pavarotti on my phone with my headphones or earbuds. It's like I can't go for a walk in the middle of the night up the streets. This is in a very unusual town, and Sarah Winnemucca is a Native American princess. Her statue is in Washington, D.C., in the Capitol building. You can't, because she appealed to Congress for the plight of her people. She spoke Spanish. She learned Spanish at a young age. Thanks to Hugh O'Brien, the Hugh O'Brien Youth Leadership Group. Hugh O'Brien was a real cowboy from the 1800s who lived quite a while. And Hugh O'Brien plays White Earp. I was in Hugh O'Brien Youth Leadership in 9, 10, 11, 12th grade. It's funny that all the women I know, their name is Laura. So Laura Fry was my first fling, but it was just, the prom. She was a senior and I was a junior. And then I met another girl from the South, also named Laura. And then there's the Laura Lee radio show. What other Laura do I know? I think that's mostly it. But the Laura from the South, she had a mental diagnosis, but I lost track of her and I can't find her anymore, and she didn't talk to me as of over 12 years ago. It's like I hate losing people I was romantically connected to in some way. I never dated Bad Cinderella, but she did say she would pay for tea. And Bad Cinderella also says, a day without chocolate is a day wasted? So that's a quotation from Amanda Johnson, who is Sonny Johnson's daughter. They got together, I found out, from the Lions Club, who serves at the Methodist Church Soup Kitchen. They got together in Idaho for Christmas. They're from Pocatello, Idaho. What they were mining, I don't know. Was it coal or whatnot? Anyway, I'm going to get off now. But Amanda Johnson knows I'm real, and now her lover knows. It's because her lover deleted me from social media when I tried to contact them. There are beautiful pictures of Amanda Johnson that were on her Facebook page, and her mother loves cats, is crazy about cats. So my parents know them, and they know my parents briefly. But they are from Zion Lutheran Church, and Zion Lutheran Church teaches that you do not lose your salvation because you're gay or lesbian. It's like I said, once saved, always saved. Because the godmother is also lesbian in this story, folks. It's like, it turns out Amanda Johnson married a girl, the baker, who she was a daily worker here at Corey's around until 2019, and then after she lost her job from the Red Cross 10 years earlier, because they got jealous. Red Cross got jealous of how well that the Winnemucca office was being managed, and Amanda Johnson was working for them. They did Real Heroes, is where they gave out awards every summer to all the heroes in the community and in Nevada. And it was a fundraiser too, and an auction and a dinner at the convention center. It was wonderful. In fact, here's my trophy I got for volunteering in their office. American Red Cross Real Heroes 2003, volunteer hero, Jared Freeman Routson, sponsored by Winnemucca Farms. My dad worked for Winnemucca Farms until he retired. Winnemucca Farm potatoes are the best potatoes. They're used the flour is used in Pringle. It used to be processed here, but now it's processed in Idaho, the potato flour. It's Winnemucca Farms Creamy Mash Instant Potatoes. They come all the way from China and Japan to get it. It is gourmet, but you can also find it in different flavors. The Nevada potatoes grown here locally are superb, and there might be a few different varieties. They come to this factory still. You can find the instant potatoes in some grocery stores, but I don't know what else to say, but they're now headquartered in Idaho. But my dad's business partner used to live here but moved away. He had two different business partners. They can make a lot of money. The new owners can make a lot of money on their brand name. Creamy Mash Winnemucca Farms potatoes, or Idahoan brand potatoes, instant potato mixes, are very natural. So there's nothing better than the real thing, but this is the next best thing to it. There aren't any other brands that even come close to it that you'll find anywhere. So Amanda Johnson moved to Reno and fell in love as she was a deli worker in Ridley's. She transferred to the Ridley's store, which it had a different name, perhaps. Was it Rayleigh's? And so she met the baker at, and I knew a guy who was a baker, or not a baker, but who I typecasted as the baker. I typecasted Amy Bales, an ex-girlfriend. We never married, but I was one of the supervisors where she worked at Sonoma Industries. It's a thrift store for disabled persons. And of course, the doTERRA store in town is another character that appears there. And President Hall makes an appearance in the entrance, and President Backus of the LDS Mormon Church is what I'm talking about, makes an appearance working with the Queen, who is Sonny Johnson's mother. But it's not mother-in-law, because it's it's Amanda's dad who has her grandmother is still alive, and her grandmother must have been from Idaho too. Her dad did serve in the military, which is a song that's missing from the play, but you can find the song in the soundtrack of him seeing the squid or whatever. It's like that planet that I was talking about, named after the Native American that moves really slow. That's the planet, exoplanet that's beyond Pluto, and it's red. It's not a good thing. I think it was in Aries, or now it's in Taurus. It's not a beneficial planet. The Native American, she's an Indian princess who, in what is it, Alaska or Norway or something, and tradition where she I guess she gets persecuted, she drowns or something, I don't know, but she gives Native Americans whale blubber or seal blubber to live or whatever. What the myth is, you'll have to look it up. And in the song, they talk about sushi. In my dream, she's something like in the Madonna music video I made with a cat song. It's in CGI. It's a new TV series on Netflix or something, Toon Anime. I don't know. It's an energy that kind of saps the life out of people who are not spiritually aware. But for what purpose? Is it for a greater good or something? I don't know. It's like, because in this dream was this man-eating squid, or this witch squid, and piles of dead bodies everywhere. And I think there was even a ship. And this was earlier this year that I had this dream. This planet had been discovered around 2000, somewhere around the year 2001 or 3 or something. And to me, it's like something that would steal your spirit from you. And you use that energy, what that energy is used for or means or good for, I don't know. But I just thought I'd add that in there. Is the pile of dead bodies, who are those dead bodies? Is it me? It's like, is it this energy continually sapping the life out of me? I don't know what it represents. It was gory. It was like a Dido music video. Her Dido's music video, Resting with Me, Until You're Resting Here With Me. It was expansive and massive and dark, and there wasn't any sunlight. And and I was the only live person there. Or there, I don't know what else to say. It was, yikes. Are these planets representative of angels in rebellion to God? It's like, I don't know. Because even Jews believe there are like pagan deities. Even the Jews believe that there was a witch pagan deity that could possess you, like Baba Yaga or whatnot. Baba Yaga is like the queen of the witches in the Russia area and whatnot. And now I'm a big fan of ABBA. I've been listening to their music. They're back in concerts. Where their concert is, I don't know. And just there's a lot of people to thank to help to get me to where I am. But without the technology of the cell phone, it's like almost nothing that I've done would have happened. Without CGI and computers, it wouldn't have happened. What T.S. Eliot wanted his cats to be were people, real personifications, something living, but not humans. He didn't want them to be as humans. But he says they have 3 different names. To me, it's like a Greek idea or a Greek ancestry or Chinese dynasty, a person, place, and a thing. Because Calvin Klein, Calvin and Hobbes again, the cartoon strip, Emmett Charm wears Calvin Kleins. Calvin is a philosopher, and Klein means little, means in a language it means small or little, meaning I'm junior to my dad, who is the senior. And it's like, models wear Calvin Kleins, who are male models. And so yeah, Pluto just went over my, Pluto had just conjuncted in Sagittarius, which is in my 5th house, the house of fun, which is Leo. I have it Leo, the lion. Yes, earlier this year and last year, Pluto conjuncted my Mercury, planet Mercury in the 5th house, and then then a few months later, it conjuncted my Mars in and now it's moving into Capricorn, but it's far from me now. When it conjuncted Mercury, my communications skills improved, but communications were about religion and philosophy and ideas, a concept I had no clue about very much. Even though I had been officially a Christian since 2019, I didn't know once saved, always saved officially until more like 2022. It's like, then when Pluto conjuncted my Mars, I got really sick. The power of Pluto happens 1 degree before it hits the whatever on your chart. Its power is 1 degree sooner than, like the star energy. It's 1 degree before and 1 degree after the star. But after Pluto has conjuncted something, its energy is no longer valid, even 1 degree after it, in my opinion. But I'm guessing. See, 1 degree before it is when the death happens. And when it hits 0 degrees of it is when the death, it's a new beginning for something. But it moves 3 degrees a year in your chart. In the next 20 years, it's only going to move 1.5 degrees a year. See, it's moving faster than we think. It has to move like half the year it's in retrograde. It's moving backwards for half the year. The other half the year it's in direct. It's going direct, moving forward. Its energy is not blocked. So that's what I'm going to be looking into. Thanks for watching my video.